Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I'm James Haskell, along with my co-host Glenn Martin, and we are here on a frustrating Sunday afternoon in which the Ravens squander an AFC North matchup and lose a close one to the Cleveland Browns. But Glenn, we got a lot to get into. Before we do, though, we got to keep the lights on and talk about our sponsor of the show, BetOnline. The election creeps closer and closer, and they got some bets going on regarding the election. What's going on with BetOnline?
Yep, BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything sports betting. Has every stat, matchup, breakdowns, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. With the largest catalog of odds from everything from football, MLB playoffs, NHL, NBA, and even political prop bets. When the games are over, head over to the online casino and get in a hand of blackjack, some poker, or unwind with over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here.
Glenn, I feel like you have a face in which you're about to go off on another epic Glenn rant. I have a lot of thoughts, but on moments like this, I like to get yours first. Initial thoughts following this game, and like I said, what I believe to be a squandered opportunity. I'm assuming you believe the same.
Yes. I mean, I've never seen a team drop more total balls on both sides of the ball than the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, how many easy interceptions? My son is 11, could have made at least 3 interceptions today. Eddie Jackson, Jameis Winston is handing him the ball, and he refuses to take it. And then Kyle Hamilton, how do you drop that ball? It was maybe the easiest interception I've ever seen dropped in history. It was a lollipop. He saw it from 30 yards away, able to do any adjusting he needed to do. It hits him right in the chest. I mean, Bateman hits him in his face. Like, what are we doing out here? And look, Jimmy, this is not a championship level defense. It's not even close. We let the 32nd ranked offense. Jameis Winston goes 27 of 41. 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. And he should have had 10 picks, but we just don't know how to catch the freaking ball. Absolutely pathetic, embarrassing performance by the Ravens. Hideous performance. Todd Monken, Jimbo, every important play, he takes the ball out of Lamar's hands. He goes, Charlie Kohler, do you want it? I don't blame Charlie Kohler for not knowing how to play quarterback. He's not a quarterback. And then they Wildcat, the one team in the league that should never do Wildcat is the Ravens. The only reason the Wildcat was created is because you have a statue as a quarterback and you want to get the ball in the hands of a guy who can move. We have Lamar freaking Jackson.
You all right there, Foz? I'm with you, though, Glenn. I'm with you 1,000% on all that. I mean, just like you said, if Eddie Jackson would have dropped another ball, the dude's got meat sleeves for arms and no fingers. How do you not catch any of those passes? And like you said, Kyle Hamilton, I swear to you, anybody could have taken that, not only caught it, but turned it around for 6. I mean, he could, like you said, he had opportunity to adjust to the ball, to prep his launch angle. Everything. Dude could have done all calculus
shielded his eyes from the sun.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that was awful. And like you said, this defense is just absolutely horrendous. They have Jameis Winston out here looking like Joe Montana, and it was absolute insanity. It's just like you said, his stat line, insane. I mean, Jameis Winston certainly was praying to the good Lord this morning with all those drop interceptions. Absolutely ridiculous. And you're so right, Glenn. This is the problem. We always talk about the shoe dropping. Now Monken goes back to being cute again. Monken,
Yep.
Like, how many times do we have to go through the cycle where we figure out that simple is good and we're the best at simple? Not simple as in, like, easy, but, like, bread and butter is okay and good, and then all of a sudden we get cute again. What is this stupidity? Like, why? Over and over and over and over again. And then on top of that, the only thing that you didn't mention, I mean, I agree with everything you said, but it's like the penalties. Still, the penalties hurting us again. I swear, every long play, every long run is called back. Every single one. The pre-snap penalties, we had issues with that. My goodness, this was just brutal. Now, look, to cut the defense some slack, not much, because like you said, this offense is the worst in the league. 2 corners out in Wiggins and Humphrey, but today should have been a day where you get up early, and then, I mean, from the jump, we saw what happened with the first drive. I mean, we that takes the air out of if that first drive is successful, we go up early, the whole ball game changes. This
Yes.
whole game turns out, differently. But instead, they somehow take an early lead. And so they take, that advantage right from us. So, yeah, absolutely ridiculous. Squandered opportunity. My goodness. I mean, there were some moments where you can say, some things were on the ref, but this was not an egregious game against the Ravens ref-wise. I think this was fine. Referees were okay. The Ravens were just sloppy. And defense, no excuses, man. Now, did I miss something, Glenn? What's his name not playing? Marcus Williams?
Marcus Williams got benched. And my only question is, why is Eddie Jackson out there? Like,
seriously, just keep Ardarius out there in every play with Kyle, right?
Well, the problem is we have two really bad safeties right now. Marcus Williams is really bad, and so is Eddie Jackson. I don't know what the hell happened to Marcus Williams. Eddie Jackson at least has an excuse. He's gotten to that point in his career. He's an older guy. He's done a lot of good things. He's done. He's washed. What is the excuse that Marcus Williams has for making 0 plays, having no impact in the game? Jeremy's right. He says defense is trash. Orr's got to go. 5 drop picks and wide receivers forget how to catch. A trade needs to happen. This is just said. A trade absolutely needs to happen if this team is going to.
And we didn't even talk about the lack of pass rush. Jameis Winston is back there preaching from a pulpit every time he gets an opportunity to throw the ball. Holy crap, Glenn. I can't believe it took me that long to remember that. I mean, dude, he could have spelled his name forward and backwards 5 times over before he threw the ball.
So annoying, bro. And they had a guy playing left tackle who's never played left tackle in the NFL before.
Ridiculous.
And he looked absolutely fine. I mean, the pass rush was, you're right, it was non-existent. He had all the time he wanted to in the world. I feel like the times we got stops, they were so lucky. Like, I felt fortunate to get stops. Like, oh, we got away with one. Like, it wasn't even like we earned them. Like, it was pathetic. And the few times we could have earned a stop by forcing a turnover, we blew it every single freaking time. It was absolutely embarrassing. Sean Pisker says, not much to say. Butterfingers, Butterfingers, Butterfingers. Orr is garbage. Worst Ravens defense possibly ever. Look, I mean, every week we kind of wait for them to go, all right, they're going to figure it out. And Zach Orr, he gets the tutelage of Dean Pease coming in, and he's raving about how much he's already helped. And we just keep getting worse and worse performances out there. And look, like you said, the injuries to 2 outside corners didn't help. And then the in-game injuries to Pierce and Urban certainly added to the problems. But this is the 32nd ranked offense in the league, a team who's given up, who traded away their best offensive player and has lost 5 in a row.
Yeah. Yeah, there's 0 built-in excuses here for this one. I mean, we got outplayed. We didn't deserve this win. And it's a real bummer, like I said from the jump, because now, you think about, they mentioned it. They talked about the Chiefs, being undefeated, home field advantage, all that stuff matters. But ultimately, we want to win the division. And I'm not sitting here saying the Steelers are a threat, but dang it, their record is what their record is, right? And so, we can't lose games like this. These are the games you look back on and you go, okay, so now we're traveling on the road because we lost to the Browns led by Jameis Winston, and the Las Vegas Raiders led by Gardner Minshew. That's a problem. Like, what are we doing here? At what point? Yeah, at what point do we? What sweeping changes have to be made? I know only so many sweeping changes can happen at this point in the season, but goodness gracious, a trade needs to happen. Maybe trades, plural. Something. I'm glad Marcus Williams got benched because he deserved to get benched.
But at some point, you got to bring the guy back in the game. I mean, if Eddie Jackson is just pathetic out there, first of all, there needs to be multiple moves, not one trade, trades, plural. Yeah. And look, Bateman had the coming out party, and we're like, all celebrating Bateman, and Bateman saying all this confidence having luck. And then he just goes out there and catches 1 out of his 5 targets, lets a ball hit him right in the face, which would have been an absolute game-changing moment in the game. It's so bad. I'm gonna pull up the stats here in a second. It's only gonna get you more and more frustrated. This is one of the most irritating losses I can remember in quite some time. Cito says, "Get Zach Orr out of here. He is beyond horrible. This is Baltimore. Unacceptable." Yeah, unacceptable, and he knows it. He played in this damn offense. He knows this is some bullshit. I mean, this is bad. This is not a defense that has no talent, and it looks like we have the worst talent in football on that side.
Yeah, we got names, man. I mean, look, at every level, we got players. And to me, outside of the drop pick, the only guy who showed up to play today was Kyle Hamilton.
Right.
I mean,
right?
yeah, that was a terrible drop pick, but let's be honest, the only impactful plays
The only
that I can
pass
think
rush
of
we had was him.
was Kyle Hamilton, right? The only
Yes.
guy that seemed to be making some sort of a disruptive play was Kyle Hamilton. I mean, it was just absolutely ridiculous today. The corners were brutal. Armour Davis, no thank
And
you.
look, they picked on him, and rightfully so. The guy just came off IR, and he's thrust into this position.
Yep.
I mean, Brandon Stevens had to be happy as hell. He finally wasn't getting picked on. They decided to go to the other side and pick on the young guy, but unacceptable is right, Cito. It absolutely is. And Eddie Jackson does equal butt cheeks. He absolutely is butt
Yeah.
cheeks.
Yeah.
He really is. He's absolutely garbage. And look, we haven't even gotten into some of the questionable. I mean, Tom Monken, again, decides to take Mark Andrews off the field far too often, in my opinion. And look, I like Charlie Kohler. I think he's a good player, but he's our third tight end, and he's our distant third tight end for a reason. Let's use
Yes,
our
not
studs.
close.
Yeah, let's use our stud. And then, Jimbo, I mean, explain this to me. Was the game ever out of hand? Like, were we ever getting our doors blown off in this game?
No.
Then why the hell does Derrick Henry have 11 carries for 73 yards, averaging, I mean, look, my math isn't great, but I believe that's over 6 yards a carry. Yes, over 6.5. Why did we throw it 38 times and ran it 21? And let's be honest, it's more than 38 because Lamar scrambled on a couple and turned them into runs. Why are we not running the ball?
Yeah, that's insane. And when you think about, on top of that, knowing what they are as a defense coming into this game, giving up over 100 yards a game, you have to double down on that. I don't understand the idea of going away from that. You're absolutely right. I mean, he had popped a few ones. I mean, he sent JOK to the hospital on a nice run. He had the early run, the long early run in the beginning of the game. So he was breaking them, right? Like, you got to give him some time. So, yeah, not giving him the ball doesn't make a lot of sense to me either. As poor coaching offensive. The coordinators are a problem right now, Glenn. And like you said, we have personnel issues. The pass rush, we have names on the back end. These guys simply have to play better or find another place to play football. But the coordinators got out coordinated today. Yeah, Jim Schwartz beat the hell out of Monken, took him to school. Credit their defense to a certain extent. They did a really good job against a really good offense. But like you said, it was a lot of Monken shooting himself in the foot.
Yeah, and nowhere to go. I mean, Sean Pister says Glenn and I are the same person. I think a lot of fans are frustrated, and I just happen to be one that has a microphone. But too many times Lamar's dropping back, and there's nowhere to go with the football as any quick route.
Without them doing more and creating more time, there's nothing openly available to him.
Nowhere. We had a play late in the fourth quarter where we need to move the ball, and it's pretty clear that they're bringing guys down the box. They have been previously. They're blitzing like crazy, and we take all four of our receivers and have them run deep, long developing routes and there's nowhere for him to go with the ball. It's the most asinine. Where is the quick hitters? Where's his hot receiver?
Do you remember the play where he ran it because Lamar's that good in the end? He dropped back into the end zone early in that last drive, takes off, gains like 20, 25 yards or whatever that ended up being, which is a great play. But when they panned out and showed that play, all the guys were like 40 yards down the field. Right. Like, we're trying to get out of our own red zone. Let's get something easy for this guy to do. I mean, what is happening here?
Unbelievable. It's absolutely.
It's like 4 go routes and Lamar do magic.
Yeah, exactly. It's pathetic offense. Like, Todd, are you just like taking your hands off of the play sheet and just going, I got nothing for you? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I wonder if he just calls in the mic and the number for Lamar, do whatever the heck you want, is 8. As 8. That's it. Like, look on your play sheet, look on your arm, Lamar, it's 8. And it just says whatever the hell I want.
Absolutely embarrassing performance by the coaches. Asmodeus Thanato says, Glenn is expressing how I'm feeling, but he's less angry. Yeah, I think, like I said, there's a lot of pissed off Ravens fans, and rightfully so. Appreciate the comment. Yecall says, demote or hire Vrabel as DC. Can't be any worse. I would love Mike Vrabel. Only problem is I think he's working with the Browns right now. So I believe he's a defensive assistant or something for the Browns right now, or an advisor.
I was going to say that generally, I mean, I don't hold out any hope for making changes midseason, but I mean, look, John has done it before offensively. I don't think we've done that defensively. Not that I can recall. I mean, obviously everyone remembers the Cam Cameron change since we went on to win the Super Bowl, but have we made any in-season changes like this at DC? And I'm not saying it's necessary. Like, I don't know if I'm off the ship yet, but just out of curiosity, have we done that to your recollection?
I don't recall. I know OC we have, but I don't know
Yeah,
about DC, but that's because we're usually pretty damn good on that side of the ball.
yeah.
This might be the first time where there's reason to have this conversation. Like, it just hasn't been that many issues on this side of the ball historically for this team. So maybe, hey, there's a first for everything, Jimbo, but something's got to be different. This guy is getting absolutely outcoached on a weekly basis at this point. Like, this isn't a one-off. This isn't a two-off. This is a literally every single game outside of Buffalo, he's been outcoached.
Yeah, is John calling old Rex Ryan out of the ESPN booth? Rex, get
Dude,
down here.
I would love
whatever
it.
He's got to do, man. But you're right. Something's got to change from a coaching standpoint here defensively, because I don't think it's strictly personnel. I don't think, just like we talked about, that a player like Roquan Smith has a precipitous drop just because PQ leaves and we get, and 1 year passes by. All of a sudden, he doesn't seem to be the guy that he is. And it might be because he's not put in advantageous situations. And look, we focus on Roquan for that, but it could be a number of other guys as well. But certainly this defense is not playing up to snuff, and it starts with the DC, man. It just simply, I guess, it starts with the head coach, but ultimately the DC is the one that's masterminding this defense. It's a problem, man.
Well, and John, look, John had a choice. He decided to choose Zach Orr over who was it that went to DC?
The Dolphins, right?
The Dolphins.
Anthony
Weaver, and who's our DB coach last year, who is now the DC at Tennessee, I think it is, or Robinson.
His name.
Geez, yeah. So both defenses playing way better than our defense is right now. Rave Kingdom says, y'all preaching today. This is ridiculous. It is ridiculous. And look, I appreciate the comment, Rave Kingdom. I think Doomgoy says it best right here. Is this the worst defense in team history? Absolute liability. I could have dropped all those balls for free. Yeah, absolutely. I could have gone out there. I would have volunteered to go out there and drop those balls.
Right.
You wouldn't have to pay me a dime. When we fall, we fall hard. What the bleep? Yeah, I mean, Jimmy, right now, is it fair to say, as it stands right now, this is definitely the worst defense in the history of our franchise?
Worst I've seen. I mean, yeah. It's so hard to disagree. And part of the reason why it's hard to admit that that's the truth is because you said it, Glenn. It's not for a lack of guys. It's not for a lack of guys we've drafted. It's not for a lack of money we've spent. I mean, our secondary is so ridiculously expensive. Our secondary is like people buy like a Maserati because they think it's cool, but it's like the lowest end Maserati. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, okay, dude, cool, you have a Maserati, but it's not fast and actually not a cool car, right? Like, that's what our secondary is. Like, it's cool that you have these names, but they're actually old and kind of overpaid.
Yeah.
So serious problem, man, in the secondary. And then certainly up front, can we just call clown? Like, what's the holdup? Let me tell you what, Glenn, I got to tell you something. On Friday, I went to this really cool event for my son's little school. Guess who happened to be there? Justin Tucker was there. Mr. Kick today. Justin.
Let's get to this guy.
Guess who else walks in? Oh, EDC walks in. EDC, you need to stop with the banquets, get on the phone, and start making some trades, dude.
Be busy.
Come on, bro. What is happening?
Yeah, I mean, Emo says, do we have a Zach Orr problem or a personnel problem? I do think it's a combination of both, at least in certain areas. But you can't deny the fact that Mike McDonald was getting way more out of these guys, and even guys who've since moved on and look at their performance elsewhere. He was maximizing the talent of all these guys on our team, including, like I said, Patrick Queen, who's no longer here, Geno Stone, who's no longer here. Look at what they're doing with their new teams. They're not playing any better. There's no doubt we have a coaching problem, but also it's a personnel problem. We can't get any pressure unless we're blitzing, particularly blitzing guys like Kyle Hamilton, which, look, he's a great blitzer, but we can't have this guy be our number one pass rusher. Like, it's unbelievable. It's pathetic. Unique Ngakoue right now is probably the guy that scares teams the most, and he just signed here 10 days ago. Like, what are we?
Yeah, he's still trying to work his belly off.
What are we doing out here,
right.
man?
Yeah, no, it's insanity. I mean, to put it shortly, I just don't think this was not a game that was stolen from us in that, like, sometimes we'll pull up the stats. Every time we play Gardner Minshew, we dominate the stat sheet, and all of a sudden we lose. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
This was
Yes.
not one of those games. This was simply a game where we got outcoached, we got outplayed, and the other team took advantage of their opportunities.
Yep.
I mean, how much of a full circle moment is it that Kyle Hamilton drops an interception right when a play needs to be made, and then they turn around and throw a touchdown?
Crazy,
That's a 14-point swing. I mean, just back to back, boom, within a matter of seconds. The Ravens defensively did not take advantage of their opportunities. Offensively, absolutely got way too cute. Super frustrating. Real big stinker on this one.
Yeah, Edward says, why we always lose like this? Eddie Jackson needs to be investigated. He was that bad. Trying not to cover, but trying not to overreact. But Harbs made a huge mistake promoting Zach Orr, which certainly looks like it right now. You talk about rookie lumps. He's taken them and then some. I don't know how he could have much confidence in his own. I don't know how much confidence he has on third down that he even knows what play he's picking. Like, it's that bad right now. I know my confidence level is pretty low when I see us on third down. I just always assume they're going to get it. Like, it's bad right now. I think you make a good point here, Edward. I wonder if we had truth serum, if John Harbaugh would say, I'd like to have that decision back. I kind of feel bad for Zach Orr because he looks like he's in over his head. Shout out to my nephew, Shane. Appreciate the comment and you watching. He says it's inexcusable. Coaching is ass. 5 drop picks, timeout on 1st and 10. Blame who you want, but it's Harbaugh's fault. Yeah. Look, the lack of tight end on the stretch did not do us any favors here, Jimbo.
No, which timeout is he talking about? In the last drive where we got the chunk play and we were trying to run up the field.
I thought we should have ran up and spiked that one. I thought there was you just can't go down to that last drive with only one timeout.
Right.
We didn't challenge the play early. Of course we didn't, because we would have actually won that challenge on that first down when the receiver was tackled clear short. That. I tweeted, I said, of course we don't challenge that because we only challenge the ones we're going to get absolutely wrong, and we never challenge the ones that we actually get right. I'll never understand how that happens when they have a guy in the booth with replays at his fingertips.
Who's getting a paycheck every week to do this.
It is absolutely inexcusable. The coaches failed. The players absolutely failed. How many drops they had. It was an unbelievable game to watch, man. One of the most frustrating losses in the history of our team. No doubt about it. Appreciate the super chat, Shane. Kevin Lee says, I'm tired of blaming coordinators under Harbaugh. It's getting old. Harbaugh has to go. What do you think about that, Jimbo?
Man, people, I feel like this year, every year, people's leashes are particularly short and tolerance toward the head coach, but it's Super Bowl or bust for John, I think. And I think that sentiment might be starting to grow inward as well, within the walls of the old castle. It's inside the moat now. And that's a new thing here in Baltimore, I think, because it's gotten up to the moat, the old crocodiles, but it seems to be creeping inside the walls. And I don't know, man. Look, obviously Mike McDonald has been doing some good things. They've hit some lumps there in Seattle, but he's shown some that one could be the one that got away for us. Because if you let go of John, I'm not saying he's a perfect coach, but like, where are you going after that? How do you dig up another guy who is a Hall of Fame caliber coach just like that? Maybe you're that good at finding coaches, but I mean, unless you're just going to go hire Bill Belichick, who's a far from a sure thing, I'm just always hesitant to let go of a guy because it's a risk in and of itself.
Yeah, no, I don't think this. Obviously, coach has been doing a pretty good job outside of his game management skills, which I guess is big part of the job. But if you're telling me Bill Belichick is available for at least to come off TV and be our DC, I would certainly sign up for that. But if I'm Bill,
dude, what kind of check would he have to take, man?
Oh, dude, I'm paying him whatever it costs.
Whatever
if you
it takes.
Be our DC, we're bringing you in because holy
gosh,
smokes.
How awesome would that be? I've never wanted to see Bill Belichick more ever in my life.
Yeah, man, he would be an incredible DC. Just let him focus just on that side. Zach Orr scoot to the side or get demoted, one or the other. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely Harbaugh has got to be held accountable. I mean, it's unbelievable how this defense is playing right now, and this is his scheme. Like he said it, it's his scheme. He keeps reminding us that it's his scheme. Tone the Virgo says defense is a landfill. How in the world we allow Jameis Winston to look like the second coming of Peyton Manning? Eddie Jackson's like a deer in headlights. This can't be our defense. I'm playing Call of Duty to ease my mind. Well, hey, look, Tone, if it's anything like me, when I play Call of Duty, it doesn't ease my mind. I get just as frustrated. I get you.
God, I tell you what, it is true. Like, I give them an allowance for one of those interceptions because sometimes Jameis throws them in a fashion that it's so easy. You're like, oh, wait, this is real. This is actually happening. But like Jackson dropped what, 3 himself?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man. Goodness gracious, get it together, dude. I don't know what you got to do. These guys should be on the jugs machine tonight. They should have a jugs machine on the plane. Like, dude, something's got to happen here. I just don't know what the answer is. That's the tough part for me right now. There's not something I can identify, like I specifically put my finger on right now, other than we need to improve the pass rush. But that doesn't have to do with guys dropping the ball.
No, it just seems like it's just so many problems, man. It's like so many. It's just, yeah, man. It's frustrating, especially when you think of like, look, this is probably the worst, one of, if not the worst offense we're going to play. Now, again, Jameis is a big step up, I think, from Deshaun Watson, but still, look at the numbers. They trade away their best offensive player. Like, come on, man. Like, it's only going to get more difficult. It's not going to get easier from here on out. And you made, like they said, like Tone said, made Jameis look like the second coming of Peyton Manning. Tone, we appreciate the super chat and your viewership, of course. Brandon White says, under John, we are a poorly coached team. He and Zach need to be held accountable or they can go. We are a one-and-done team if this defense continues to play this way. Yeah, if there is not a massive move made at this, like, I don't want to see an Orioles level move made at this deadline. I want to see a needle moving, game-changing move. There's plenty of options out there at pass rush. And look, there's going to be competition. I don't find that to be an excuse. You have 11 draft picks next year. This roster is too damn good for 11 players to make it anyway. Move those draft picks to get players to help you in this championship run this year. No excuses, Eric DeCon. I don't care if people overpay. Overpay for once in career.
Yeah, I'm with you 1,000%, Glenn. In fact, Eugene seems to be agreeing with you. But the only thing I'll say to that is, so 1, you need to make a move. 2, it needs to be sweeping. And I don't want to hear somebody walk to the microphone at the trade deadline and say, we feel good about our guys.
Yes, please. It better not be. We like our guys. We like some of our young guys. We like the direction. No, hell no. It ain't good enough. It ain't going to be good enough, especially when you're playing a team. Look, we just played a team with a pretty good defense. Who do you think you're going to be playing in the playoffs? You're playing the best of the best. You're playing a team like the Chiefs, who right now I think have the number 1 or number 2 rated defense in the entire league. And they have Pat Mahomes. Like, you can't be this bad and just go, we'll figure it out. Can't be done.
This offense is way too good to waste, man. Way too good to just squander and let just slip through our fingers, because this is not an offense that comes by. They're setting records every single time they get an opportunity to do so, and we can't just let it go to waste. It's absolutely, what's the word? It's unnecessary, not unnecessary. It's I can't think of the word right now, but unacceptable. There you go.
It is absolutely unacceptable. Asmodeus says, I think everyone on the Ravens should be investigated for game fixing. That's how bad this game was. Yeah, it certainly felt like every time they had an opportunity to kind of finish the game or step on their throats or make a big play, they just blew it. Just flat out blew it. No 2 ways about it. Like, yeah, I mean, hitting you in the face? Come on, Bateman. Like, the sun was... Then why are you wearing a clear visor, you goof?
Yeah, I was about to say, I think his visor had a little tint on it too. Like, dude, you got the visor. What else do you need? Do you think it was the footing?
I mean, it looked like he lost his footing, but I mean, come on, bro. Like, you got to make that play. And then even look, Lamar had obviously, he had some crazy moments in that game, but he had some missed throws too. There was a missed throw over the middle to Isaiah Likely when he would have been gone for, I think, a 90.
Man, he wanted that one and the Zay one back.
And the Zay one in the corner, he was wide open. And then, look, the Browns dropped a few tough but interceptions. There's no doubt about it. The catch point, there were some tough moments. So, I mean, look, nobody had their best game. That's for sure. Everybody shares some fault in this one. And the lack of usage of Justice Hill, like, come on, man. Like, this guy's been balling. We don't even see the guy. Like, it's just weird, man. Ian Wick says the D will stop us making a Super Bowl god awful.
Did we see a single screen in this game?
I think we saw one and it worked, and then we never saw it again.
Yeah.
Oh no, that was a jet. That was a one of those little quick passes, little
Oh,
shovel
that was
pass.
early on. That was early. That was in like the first drive or so. That was way early.
Yeah, real early. Yep.
Yeah, we never saw an opportunity for those offensive linemen to get downfield, get downfield like they
It
did
was right
last week
over
when
Garrett,
Justice scored. Yep.
right over
Yeah, no,
Miles
I'm off to
Garrett.
the left side.
Yeah, it was a
I'm pretty
smart
sure.
play,
Yeah.
and then we never saw it again. It's just
Yeah.
like nothing to counter the pressure, and even let's
Does
be honest.
Monken get bored? Like, what is it? You know what I'm saying? It's like, dude, you can
Dude.
do the same thing week after week. I understand defenses change. I understand week by week, you strategize and things like that. But I'm wholeheartedly this person, and maybe this is why I wouldn't be a good coordinator. But if you are good, record setting at what you do, you make them adjust to you.
Yes.
You make them change their game to you because you're better at whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're really good at what you do. You make them prove that they're good enough to stop you in that moment at what you do. I don't care what the defense is showing. Obviously, to a certain extent, make them change because if not, you know what I mean? Like, we're so good at what we're good at. Show us you can stop it. Like, don't willingly just do good something you're not as good at. I don't understand that.
It's so goofy how we take ourselves out of our own game plan without any influence from the other team. It just drives you crazy. Little X Nation says, after the failed fourth down in the first quarter, we knew what kind of game was coming. Decades worth of games have played out the same way. Yeah, and again, the fourth down, the short down decision making was absolutely asinine. No team with Lamar Jackson ever have a wildcat package. Period. End of story. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. And again, I know you don't want your quarterback taking headshots on the QB sneaks, and that's why don't do QB sneaks.
Right.
If the only option is bringing in your third tight end who doesn't know how to play quarterback to do your QB sneaks, then don't do them. Period.
Right. Give the ball right, or give the ball to the guy that's 250 pounds who's
you could do that, or hey, Lamar, read it. Either hand it to him, pull it out of his chest, and run around. You give it to neither of them, and you put your third string tight end who doesn't know how to play quarterback. Of course, his head bops as he's trying to do a hard count. He's not a quarterback. Like,
you leave all options open to Lamar. You let him decide, and you give him as many options as possible. Or you put it all on the table. Say you keep it, you give it to Henry, or you throw it. Right, but like whatever simple RPO. You got the guys that can get open. I mean, Mark can get open in a short space with his body. Zay can get open in a short space. You can give it to Henry, and he can fall forward for damn near 2 yards. And Lamar can shake you out of your shoes. That play by JOK, and I know he's in the hospital, and I hope he's doing well. There was a clear tripping.
Oh,
in fact,
he got up bragging about it.
Yeah, clear tripping. Like, dude, you were so shook out of your shoes that you had to trip him. And the reason I bring that up is simply to say, instead of using that guy in Lamar Jackson or the other guys that we talked about, like you said, we give it to Charlie Kohler, who's quote unquote the fat white guy, according to Charlie Kohler. Like, that's his words. Why are we doing this? Ridiculous.
It was, how do you not call the trip?
Derrick Henry?
Yeah. Oh, I know. What are we doing?
Yeah, same thing, because then you already know we're going to run the ball. Derrick's not throwing the ball. We're not jump passing the ball. This isn't Tennessee Derrick anymore. We're not doing that. It
takes the biggest threat in the entire NFL out of the play.
We just talked about on the other night. What was that, Thursday night or Tuesday night? Lamar Jackson is, in my opinion, the best weapon ever in the history of football. Let's not give him the ball.
Yeah, makes 0 sense on short yards.
Yecall says they should do 150 push-ups after they get flagged. It should be something worse than that.
Yeah, we might have to start getting monetary at this point. Like, honestly,
seriously, dude.
It was, and tripping in the NFL to tackle someone is a flag, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
And when the defender who did it gets up, sticking his leg out, laughing about tripping a guy, and and Lamar's going, ref, and the ref just going, I didn't see anything. Like, look at the guy bragging, doing a tripping motion as he dances back to his side of the ball. Like, yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable how this game everything was just one thing after another against us. What the flock says, can we please get rid of Eddie? Yes. Please
just cut him.
Get rid of Eddie. And look, maybe Geno Stone, I know he avoided injury last week. They just got their doors blown off today. Maybe Geno's on the trade block. Let's bring Geno back home, and maybe he'll play better here. But he said, how many How many picks do we have to drop? And Orr has no clue how to run a defense. Let Peace run it. Done with the experiment. At this point, Jimbo, how many more performances like this are you willing to watch before you go, DPs is the play caller now. Get the play calling out of Zach Orr's hands.
Yeah, man. No, I'm with you. Maybe I'm overly hesitant. I'm overly like.
This ain't a player. You don't have to worry about crushing his confidence. Get him out.
No. Yeah, man. Gosh. How much does that mess up? It's funny. I'm about to say something comical. How much does that mess up what they've done throughout the season? It's not like they've done a lot throughout the season either. So, like, how much worse can it get, right? These guys are professionals at the end of the day. I'm sure they know a lot of Dean stuff. So it's like, yeah.
They're the worst defense in the league, Jimbo.
Yeah.
Like, they are.
Gosh,
they just are.
How are we here, Glenn? How are we having, like, this is the upside down. How are we having this conversation within this universe? The Ravens defense is so bad.
So bad.
Like, holy crap. Yeah, we need to call up Clowney. We need to call up whoever.
Buda Baker. Of course, they just won today. We need to kick the tires on any and all safeties and pass rushers that are made available, and maybe even a corner now that we see what it's going to look like without Marlon and potentially Wiggins. Yeah, something's got to change here. Shante Holland says, I understand Zach Orr's scheme is a problem, but I think the majority of the problem is the defensive backs coach. He was rated poor when he coached for Kansas. Yeah, something's got to change. I know we lost our DB coach.
Can I just say something about this, Glenn?
Yeah.
I understand his point, but we talked about this. You are a professional football player. How much is the defensive backs coach actually helping you week to week develop your game? You are a professional, right? Like, this is your job. You've been doing it for a long time, and you're the 1% of the 1%. So I can see what you're saying to a certain extent, but certainly to me, the scheme is so much more of a glaring issue than maybe a small technique that the defensive back might be doing, or something he needs to be reminded of. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. What really drives me crazy is that if there's any defensive group that should be like well coached on this team, John Harbaugh was a DB coach. He played corner in college. Dean Pease, DB coach, started out coaching a secondary. Like, that's how John Harbaugh started, was a secondary coach. Like, I know his last stop with the Eagles was a special teamer, but he started as a DB coach. Like, both of our older veteran coaches on this team started as coaching DBs and played DB in college. And yet our DBs look clueless out there, the communication. How about on the touchdown pass, Jimbo? We're still trying to line our guys up on the defensive line. I got Owe standing up and running horizontally when the ball was snapped to try and go from the left side to the right side. The ball is snapped. He's running sideways, Jimbo. Like,
yeah.
What are we doing?
So
we need
bad.
to get lined up.
Right.
Like, the communication is trash. The scheme is an absolute shame. We don't know when to blitz, when not to blitz. It's just like, it's the most embarrassing Ravens defense. It's not close. Joshua Hunter says brutal drops all game on both sides of the ball. Simply unacceptable. What's the remedy? What moves can we make before the deadline? Pass rush, maybe even a wide receiver. D-Hop makes that catch on 3rd and 10 at the end of the game. Yeah, that drop didn't. Yeah, that drop hurt. But
is this the Bateman drop?
Yeah, Bateman. Even Zay had a tough drop where I kind of argue whether or not he caught it, was tackled, and the ball was fumbled because of the ground. But oh man, I don't think it's the offensive, like the calling on the game planning. The play calling was horrible, but I don't think it's a personnel issue on the offense. Now, if we had Zay Flowers' actual injury, I might think different, but the defense is the problem with this team. It's trash.
Oh,
absolute
so
trash.
bad. You know what? As I'm thinking through this is what happens on the show. I mean, you know this, Glenn. I feel like this happens to me a lot. And you might say this is to your ability to convince people, but as I'm thinking through this, Zach Orr needs to be out. I'm not hesitant anymore. Like, you're right. Like, because how much worse can it get? Either John, like we saw with Stefanski, he gave his OC the ability to make the calls that he normally makes the calls. So either John, make the calls yourself, act as the active participant or active DC, and have, or as a consult, as there is a secondary, person, but still with the title, or get Dean to make them. One of the two things need to happen. I mean, it's how much longer? How much more do we need to see? How much longer do we need to wait? Right? If it what's the saying? If it walks like a duck, if it talks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck.
That's right.
It's
this
just
defense is what they are. They're just not very
Yeah.
good right now. And look, next week we got the Denver Broncos. That defense that Denver's got out there is insane. Like they're trotting out probably the best corner in all of football, and Pat Surtain, who's going to be all over and following Zay everywhere he goes. And if Bateman has another game where he lets balls bounce off his face, then what are we thinking it's going to look like next week? Like, their defense is better than the Browns. So get ready. And Bo Nix is probably going to look like Tom Brady next week against this shit-ass defense. Emo says, okay, so we're pissed, but where to now? How can we fix this? I mean, honestly, it's like Jimmy said, we got to get the play calling out of the hands of Zach Orr and into the hands of Dean Pease, and we got to make moves. We got to be aggressive. 11 draft picks next year. There's no way all 11 even make the team. So why not be aggressive? This offense is clearly good enough. You got to be aggressive, man.
This is the other thing too. It's like not just fringe or bad teams have started to trend. It's not just the Jets that are making trades. This is now a thing in the NFL. Obviously, we made the trade with Rowe, we made the trade with Peters, but we need to do more. Like, come on, like let's get with it, because this is where the league is going. Let's make the moves that we need to make. Let's pick up the phone and call the people we need to call. We can't just stand here on our principles. This is like sitting on your porch watching your house burn. You know what I mean? Because your principles are that you don't need help and you don't call, so you're not going to call the fire department. Okay, cool. Like, let's not be that idiot, right? Like, if you need help, you call the fire department. Your house is burning down. Okay, hey Ravens, the house is burning down on defense. Let's pick up the phone and let's call some people. EDC, let's get some deals done. Tom says, I can read now because we're not driving. All three phases failed, following the lead of the worst game time head coach John Harbaugh. 8 games into the season, they do not look like a playoff team. Glenn, to this point of all three phases, is Justin Tucker washed?
Dude, I'm nervous. What the hell was that? Even the one that went in barely squeezed in, and it looks like he's not hitting the ball very solid at all. The leg strength is gone.
He's so over obsessed with this bottom left-hand corner, this pocket shot. That first one, it's exactly what it was. Like, I don't understand the fixation on it. Yeah, just annoying.
3 more points in that game could have absolutely, been a huge difference. I mean, we had 20. Then all we need is a field goal at the end, and we were in plenty of position to make a field goal. It's a huge problem because it's psychological with these guys, and I'm not sure if it's not starting to get the best of Justin Tucker. Even if it's just the operation he doesn't have faith in, maybe it's an issue with the hold, like whatever it is, it's bad. It's not good. Tom's right. All 3 phases had issues, and maybe they look like a playoff team, but they certainly don't look like a championship level team. Always Blessed says, fellas, tough loss. I'm begging EDC to trade for Max Crosby or a pass rusher. Way too many drop passes on defense and on offense. The Browns always play us hard. God bless you and your families. Ravens fan to the death of me. Absolutely, us as well. And certainly thank you for your generosity here. But look, I think the owner of the Raiders, Mark Davis, came out and made it pretty clear. Max Crosby's going absolutely nowhere. But to your point, got to add a pass rusher. Have to.
Yeah. Through hell or high water.
Yep.
Do something. I mean, just like we said before, I mean, Clowney is the guy. What are we waiting on? He's a guy. I'm not saying he's the answer, but like, what are we waiting on at this point? Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. All right, let's go.
But I would love to get me some Max Crosby. I got you.
No, dude, he's a Raven. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, but I agree, man. He's a Raven. Jeremy Early says, "Go get the Lions OC for head coach." Look, I'm sure there's candidates out there. Don't get me wrong. I just always get a little nervous.
Man. Holy
yeah, he does. They dropped a 50 spot today. Whew. Yeah. And it was funny because you were talking about the Titans defense. Like, didn't look
not
very
a good day.
Today.
Not a good day. But let's remember what they have on offense. Like, they have nothing on offense.
Right. They got Mason
Rudolph, bro.
He's still recovering from that hit from Earl Thomas.
Yeah, and they traded away Diop. Like, they're giving up, fighting for a draft pick. They benched Will Levis. Mr. Mayonnaise is done. It's funny when I'm still seeing commercials. It's like when Baker was going through the tough times of his career, and we're still watching him have up on TV with commercials. It's like, it's not a good look. But to Jeremy's point, was it Ben McAdoo or something? I think is the guy. That Lions offense is hitting on all cylinders.
Before we get to the next one, the worst one ever, Glenn, was, do you remember right here on 24, the year that Haloti Ngata was injured? It was a Rofo ad because they had no ATM surcharges. It said, "Get your money for nothing."
Yep,
I do. The worst ever.
And zero. You talk about a guy who gave you zero enthusiasm as a pitch man. He's like, Condor off arms, it's chicken's good. Like, it was the most. I'm like, and I love Haloti Ngata, but he's not a pitch man.
And he certainly got his money for nothing that year, dude.
Yes, he did. Absolutely, he did. He lived up to the quote there. Asmodeus says, "Who do we get in this trade deadline?" I pointed out Azeez Ojulari from the Giants. I think he's definitely going to get moved at some point. I think we both would love a reunion with Jadeveon Clowney. I'd love to see. Let me see who I wrote down as my safeties of choice. I had a bunch, but I know Budda Baker is probably not on the market because of the fact that they won today. That could mean that they're going to try and make a run at it. But why not look at Cisco, Xavier Woods? All of these guys would be massive upgrades from what the performance we have from those two safeties. Outside of Kyle Hamilton, we're getting nothing from our safeties. Absolutely nothing but bad play.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing is that, to me, next to Kyle, you don't even need. I mean, it'd be great to get another star, of course, but that's not what you just need a competent football player.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, you need a guy that's not going to blow assignments. You need a guy that understands his role. You need a guy that's going to catch interceptions and make tackles. And, like, we don't need a guy that's going to, you'd love to have a guy that's a Hall of Famer that makes disruptive plays all over the field, but, like, that's not a necessity at this moment, right? Like, we just need a guy that's going to do his job.
Yeah.
It doesn't get any more simple than that. Kevin Lee, and the other thing too, sorry guys, I'm sure that within this week and of course before the trade deadline, we're going to give you guys a nice breakdown and dig deep into it as it gets closer. We'll give you some more names and stuff like that. Kevin Lee says, Harbaugh hired Mark Trestman. This is that's a fireable offense in itself.
Well, that was a long time ago, but yeah. He did. I think he was coming off of like a Canadian football championship when they did. So he was trying to ride the hot hand, but I think he's the Chargers offensive coaching staff with Jim Harbaugh right now.
Oh, nice. With old what's his name? Roman as well.
Yeah,
nice.
They got so it's a real family reunion over there. Appreciate the super chat, Kevin. But yeah, that was not the best hire in his history. That's for sure. That's a stinker. And he just didn't seem like a Raven. Like the fans never could really Monkey's been embraced because of he's got swag, you know?
Yeah.
Trestman had zero. So he had negative
he's too
swag.
Nice. You can't, unfortunately, it doesn't go very far to be the nicest, most passive person around here.
No.
Like you can be nice, but you can't be passive too.
He came off as soft. Let's be honest. He says we needed 1 to 2 turnovers per game. That allows us to go up and take the lead. That's how we have to win. 2012, carried the defense, got some turnovers. We won. Yeah, and you're probably right, Anthony. Had we caught some of these turnovers, the game would. I mean, obviously, the Kyle Hamilton, the game's over. We're already leading. Yeah. It's a minute left. We would have won the game, but they didn't, and so the game obviously was not won by the Ravens. It was by the Browns. But yeah, probably any one of those dropped interceptions, we win the game. I mean, the made field goal, we win the game. Because then, well, of course, then Justin Tucker's got to make a 37-yarder at the end to win it. And I guess that's no guarantee at this point, which is just crazy to even think about. But yeah, you got to get turnovers if you stink. You're right.
Yeah, terrible.
Can't get traditional stops. So let me see here. Rod Wave. How can the Ravens pick a novice at DC after reaching the AFC Championship game? We can't beat the Browns, but want to beat KC?
Well, they didn't think he was a novice. That's just because he had been here so long. We understand the chronological age, but he'd been here so long.
I mean, everybody has to start. Mike McDonald was a novice when he got here, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. But it certainly showed that he's swimming in too deep water here. So we definitely need to make some changes.
Yeah, I wonder if peace is enough, or if it's like, man, it's just like the answers aren't here. It might be that. Doomgoy says, to be fair, Lamar threw like 4 drop picks too. Yeah, we pointed that out earlier. He had 2 big missed throws. the Zay touchdown on the right corner, and then the it would have been a likely, probably been an 85, 90-yard touchdown over the middle that he missed. And then, yeah, it dropped about 4. Now, those 4 picks would have been pretty sensational plays. They were kind of like catch point collisions that both players had attempt. Like, we could have ended up with those catches too if guys make plays.
Yeah,
But
I feel like receivers
point,
generally end up with those balls. I mean,
but the last play of the game probably should have been picked in the corner of the end zone to Doomgoy's point. So, drop picks were definitely on both sides of the ball. Let's see. Asmodeus has another point here, Jimbo, if you want to.
Yeah. Am I crazy, or were the refs the same from the AFC Championship?
I believe the head ref was, yeah.
Oh, was he? Yeah, I mean, they certainly don't. Yeah, the tripping was the most egregious to me. They almost didn't call the face mask on Zay. It was funny. The guy in the back, the guy who was facing the back of Zay was the one that called it, not the guy that was literally looking at him. So that was pretty shocking to me as well. Let's see. Asmodeus Snow says so. What we're saying this team needs Jesus. Yeah, I mean, look, obviously Jameis was saying his prayers before this game.
Yeah.
And maybe we need to do a little bit more of that.
But dude, you can't give up. Let me tell you what you can't do. You can't let the Browns outgain you.
Yeah.
Like, how do you let for the Browns go over 400 yards? And then again, pathetic third down. The Ravens 2 for 10 on third down. The Browns 8 for 15.
Yeah,
you cannot let the Browns go 8 for 15.
Right, that was one of the keys we talked about, right? If you remember, when we went to the stats of the Browns, their offense is not good on third down.
No.
And all of a sudden, they're good on third down. John Harbaugh just got outcoached by Mr. Al, for goodness gracious.
He did look like Mr. Al. That's funny. That's funny. In equal amounts of drives, Jimbo, they ran more plays. They were far more efficient. I mean, if you include our fourth down efficiency, Jimbo, we were 2 out of 12.
Yeah.
As a team, they were 8 for 15, better than 50%. Like, the defense, look, the offense had some moments, but the defense did absolutely nothing today. Like, they did zero.
Yeah.
The only
nothing of impact.
The strip sack, which was a phenomenal play by Hamilton. First of all, the way he hid the fact that he was blitzing, allowed him to come scot-free and completely unbeknownst to Jameis Winston. But outside of that, we didn't do anything but get lucky when we made stops.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was a couple errant throws that led to stops, but we didn't earn any other stops other than that one, Jimbo. One.
I like the way you say that too, because like if somehow you could make a statistical category for earned stops.
Yeah.
Very little of them tonight, outside of, just like you said, Kyle's play, which, like you said, was phenomenal. C Jihad, appreciate the super chat. If you had some additional comments. Sorry, DK is not with us today, so if we miss it, please let us know. But DK's, you guys make sure you send your prayers up to the big man up there. DK's on the side of the road in upstate New York, and if he starts hearing that old banjo, he better look out. So be safe out there, DK. Sean Pisker says, I just hate these types of losses. It's just another example of the Ravens losing to themselves. Why it's all of our losses. Yeah, that's the tough part about this team, Sean, is because they're a talented team, right? We're not a team that's chasing the number one pick. There's an out every other week for these teams that don't have talent, that don't have Lamar Jackson, that don't have weapons. They just don't have it, right? But we have it. And so to see the team not put it together is the most frustrating thing. These are really, really, really tough losses and frustrating to watch. I mean, at this point, all we can do is hope that we take something from it. And for goodness gracious, Monken, 7 games from now, can we not get too cute again when we shake off or when we rattle off a 6-point or a six game winning streak because we go back to the basics? Can we not get cute again? For once in your life,
Monkey Wildcat the rest of the year, I'm going to lose my freaking mind. But yeah, I mean, Sean's right.
He needs to have on his play sheet, don't get cute, in big letters and Sharpie on the top.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Right there, all the way at the top, big, bold, capital letters. But yeah, I mean, to Sean's point, like, we don't get blown out. Like, even when we lose, it's because of self-inflicted, stupid wounds. It's just, so frustrating. CJ Hyde says why they bench Marcus Williams. They benched him because he stinks. He hasn't made a single play all year. He's absolutely garbage. And the only problem is the guy they brought in is worse, Eddie Jackson. So they went from bad to worse. And the answers aren't anywhere on this team except, actually, you know what they are? Why don't we see Bo Braid, Jimbo?
Like, good point.
What
Good point.
can you be worse than 75 and 79 out of 79 total safeties graded? You can't.
Yeah.
Bo Braid could not be worse than them. And at the very least, at least what we will know is when he gets to a ball carrier or has an opportunity, he's absolutely going to destroy the guy. Like,
Yeah.
that
He's not
we
going to
know is
stand there and
certain.
point after the guy makes the play like Marcus Williams. Marcus Williams has been a traffic director all season.
That's it.
That's all he's been doing. Kevin Johnson says, feed Henry 11 carries while averaging 6.7 yards a game. Yeah, Glenn brought that up as well, Kevin.
Ugh.
We absolutely agree with that. The magic number is 15 plus. Monken, come on, it's a simple program. Who can beat the Ravens? The Ravens. Yeah. I mean, all of that is, Kevin, you summed it up. I mean, that's what it is. I think 15 plus is a fair number. And because he breaks the defense down. They get tired of getting sent to the hospital. They get tired of getting punched in the face. I mean, it's just, and they start to break, cracks start to show. Henry needs the ball more. I couldn't agree more with you, Kevin.
It's really unbelievable. We just take ourselves out of our own game plan so often in any game where we don't have a lead. Like unless we get a lead, Jimbo, we just panic, bro. It's like so weird how we just. And then I guess not in every game, because in the Bucs game we're down 10-0 and we seem to keep composure. But
and you mean the defense panics?
Well, yeah, but offensively too. 11 carries for your best. I mean, for for Derrick Henry, he's averaging 6.7 a carry. It's not like we were bludgeoning it and just banging into a wall, and he had 11 carries for 40 yards. Like, we're talking about a guy who was absolutely chewing them up, and he just stopped getting the opportunities. Brandon Wyatt says John has to be the worst coach in teams of personnel usage. Why we not bench Eddie Jackson for Bo Braid, knowing that he stinks? He's the definition of insanity and mediocrity. Fire him ASAP. I don't get the lack of wanting to play younger guys simply because they're young. Now, look, we don't know what happens in practice, and maybe Bo Braid makes mistakes that we don't see. But what we do know is when he was out there in the preseason, the guy was absolutely everywhere, making interceptions, big hits. Like, I don't think you could be worse than 79 out of 79, Jimbo.
It does make me nervous that guys aren't being played just because they're young. Because look, Glenn, do you remember how long it took Keaton Mitchell to get serious snaps? He must have been showing out in practice already.
Yeah. Oh, he was.
He came on the field and absolutely lit it up. And so I do wonder about that. That's an old school mentality, right? Like, you do your time and this, that, and the other. But yeah, we need something other than guys that are out there just because of tenure. This is not a union. You know what I mean? This is a performance-based business where we need to win. Kieran Martin says, Harbs is reluctant to use rookies, Bo, Kane, Entez. Yeah, I mean, I think Kane had a nice play or two on special teams, didn't he, today?
Yeah, made tackles.
Yeah, so, the physicality would be welcome at the safety spot. It's a tough one, man. Tough one, Glenn. This is a real tough loss, real frustrating loss. An opportunity for us, if I'm not mistaken, to take a real control of the AFC North and kind of make sure the everything stays in our hands, which is still early on. Everything's still out in front of us, but still would have been nice to take this one, man.
Yeah,
now we're 1-1 in the division.
I know. Now we really got to hope for the Steelers to lay a stinker and lose to the Giants, but we all know how that game's going to end up. Because
they're not going to lose to the Giants. The Giants are awful.
Yeah, the Giants are bad, and the Steelers, even again, I mean, the Steelers just, they find a way to win, man. They just point blank period. They find a way to get it done. They don't do dumb shit like we do all the freaking time, man. It's so annoying to watch our team play sometimes, man. Oh my gosh. Hey, look who made it. Look who made it. Oh man. I'm glad to see you're okay, DK. That we were just talking about you. I'm glad to see that you're doing good. Let me see here. It looks like Cito has another comment here. He says, get Zach Orr out of here. He is beyond horrible. This is Baltimore. Unacceptable. I thought he said that once before. Maybe I put up too many here. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Oh, I put up the wrong one. Sorry. Here it was. Thank you though, Cito. I did read that earlier. Donovan says the Butterfinger Brigade, the Margarine Hands Mafia, the Frail Phalanges Fellowship, the Anti-Catch Cluster. So many different names I have for the wide receivers in the defense right now. Wow. Yes, hitting them with all the jokes here, Jimbo. I mean, yeah, the Jugs machine should be overheating in next week's practice.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh, Glenn, I don't know what to do. Guys need to catch the ball. Just do your job. Frustrating loss.
Yep. And now look, we got a Broncos team next week that is hungry, that's playing well, that has a really, really good defense, a bunch of young guys on offense, and now it becomes a game where I mean, it's not a must-win game, but man, you don't want to lose 2 in a row in this league. Definitely don't.
You don't. Frustrating.
But I think that's all of the. I think we got through all the super chats.
And we appreciate it. Yeah, man.
Yeah, everybody's participation, and man, this is. I always say it after losses. These shows are way more like live and active, even over a big win. But man, I hope that it made some people feel better and get some stuff off their chest. It always makes me feel better. I hated the fact that we started doing post-game shows because I don't even want to talk about it when these types of games happen, but I always feel better after being forced to do so. So hopefully you as well, Jimmy, feel a little bit better.
Agreed. Yeah. And look, we're going to be turning the page. That's all we can do at this point. Learn from it, turn the page, move forward. Like Glenn said, we're prepping for the Broncos. We'll have some cool stuff coming up regarding the trade deadline, if I can speak my native language. But that's it for us tonight, folks. And we'll talk to you soon. We still gotta do it, dude. Even with the loss.